The Cleveland Guardians delivered what might be the knockout punch to the Royals' playoff chances tonight. Cleveland wins 3 of 4 in this series. Now the Royals head to Philadelphia, as desperate as it gets. Rough game tonight. We'll talk about that right now live on One Royal Way. We're back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We are live here on a Thursday night right after the Royals game finished. Here on Thursday, you lose this game 3-2. Obviously, devastating to the playoff chances. Be sure to like, rate, subscribe, review on all platforms. Hit those notification bells. So when these episodes go live, we're still going to be going to the end of the season regardless of how these next couple of weeks end up. The show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners in Possible here at Kansas City Sports Network. And on this show, we do want to shout out Kansas City Strength and Conditioning as well. Heading into the fall, if you have a baseball or softball player in the area looking for a place to train during their off season or as they are working in fall ball, that's the place to do it. So be sure to go check them out. We have a great relationship with them. The tune changed quite a bit in that eighth inning. John Schreiber gives up the home run to CJ Kafis, and it's 3-2. And I'm not going to worry too. Like that decision, I think, is separate from the way that I view the ninth inning from a decision perspective. I don't mind that. Ursa gave you 2 solid innings last night. I wasn't sure if they were going to use him today. Back-to-back off of a 2-inning, not high stress, but just high pitch count outing. And Schreiber's been good lately. He was fresh. I could see I had no issue with them trying to sneak an 8th inning through. Obviously, it didn't work. He threw a bad pitch to Kafis. It was the 9-hole hitter who, frankly, I'd never heard of until this game. So tough exchange there. You get to the 9th inning, bottom of the order up, and we'll just dive right in. Jonathan India comes up with Cade Smith on the mound, and Cade Smith is very, very tough. He ends up getting hit by the pitch. Now, I think he got hit by the pitch. I don't know. It might have nicked like the bottom of his elbow guard, but regardless, he gets on. And that's fine. Leadoff hitter on, nobody out, 1-run game with Isbell coming up. Tries to lay down the bunt, 0-1, misses it. Whether he went or not, Phil Cuzzy calls him for strike. He swings 0-2 and fouls it off. So I thought he had gotten out of bunt mode. And for some reason, he decides to bunt again. Now, if he acted rogue there, that's one thing. But bunting 0-2 is already, real taboo. You don't do that unless you are 1,000% confident you're going to get it down. And Cade Smith is throwing him high spin rate, high fastballs at his neck, and he's still trying to get it down. So Isbell deserves a lot of blame there because I think that's a situation where he acted rogue, but I don't know. That, to me, that's a situation where you got to tell him, you cannot bunt there. You can't do that. Just swing away. It shouldn't even be a conversation. So some of this, that Isbell deserves blame for that. So then you're 9 holes up, and it's Luke Maile who started the game. And you go to Nick Lofton, right on right as the pinch hitter in that situation. Nick Lofton has 2 pinch hits all season in 16 at-bats or plate appearances. I know he got the hit last night pinch hit, but that was at least against a lefty. You at least had the platoon advantage. You're going right on right with a guy that's not a real consistent hitter, and it's just not a good matchup. And this is where I wonder, is Carter Jensen just the friends we made along the way? He got a couple at bats in this series, but he played 1 game. They didn't bring him in last night. They didn't bring him in today. I know I understand that is a tough situation to drop a rookie that you're trying to break into the big leagues, softly. I understand that. That's a tough situation. But one thing we know about Carter Jensen is he's going to work a good plate appearance. He's got a really good knowledge of the strike zone. So best case scenario, he obviously gets a hit and you got 2 on. One of your more likely outcomes there is he works a walk. And you got first and second with 1 out, and Mike Yastrzemski and Bobby Witt Jr. coming up with the go-ahead run on first. And instead you go to Nick Lofton, who, again, they haven't pitch hit a bunch this year. He has 2 hits. I thought that was terrible. Oh, and I failed to mention this. Jonathan India gets on, and they decide to pinch run Tyler Tolbert. Totally understand. Get some speed on, put some pressure on the defense. Maybe you get in scoring position, with Isbell coming up, or even, Lofton. Maybe you try and force the issue there, get the pitcher and the catcher thinking about the thought of Tolbert stealing, and he doesn't go. I know Tolbert may have a green light, but that's also why you have Vance Wilson and that's why you have Matt Contreras in the dugout, and why you have Vance Wilson at third to throw on a steal sign if Tolbert is still trying to get a feel for it. Like, go. That's why you're in the game. That's why you're a pinch runner. And he doesn't go. And then Mikey Shermsky flies out, game over. You didn't move. You brought in a pinch runner to not run. Your best bunter still decides either to go rogue or they still had a bunt sign on, even though he swung 0-1 to go 0-2, and you go to a weak side platoon pinch hitter who is not that good in a game that was as must win as it gets. I rarely, and you guys know this, rarely criticize and get on the manager for the moves he makes. Not because I'm trying to be a homer, not because I'm trying to be cushy with the organization. It's nothing to do with that. It's because very rarely do I think there are moves where I'm like, I totally disagree with the way that was handled, or I understand the process and it didn't work, like where process and results don't meet. That's where a lot of the conversation comes in, and that's where casuals or people that just want to complain do their complaining, where that happens. I thought that was as poorly managed of an inning as I've seen all season. In the biggest spot, when your playoff chances were already hanging by a thread, and that's the way that you finish out that game, I mean, that's as inexcusable as it gets. Because now you already you needed to split. They looked terrible the first two games of this series. They found a way to win in a bullpen day on Wednesday, which was great because Michael Wacha goes on the concussion list, and so you end up having to go kind of impromptu Johnny Holstaff. They handled that really well. You end up going and winning that game late, where I thought Contreras did a good job. Pinch running Tolbert, pinch running Tolbert, pinch hitting Lofton, and it ends up working, right? Like, that's kind of the other side of the coin. But I thought that situation was handled well. Total opposite tonight. And yesterday's game doesn't even matter anymore because you lose 3 of 4. And your playoff chances were already super low to begin with, even if you did split. But now you lose 3 of 4. You're now down a game and a half, or possibly more at this point, to Cleveland. I think it's a game and a half now. You're 5 back of Seattle, or 4. I don't think Seattle plays today, so I think it's 4.5 now. Could potentially be 5 if my math is correct. And then you're going to Philadelphia, one of the best teams in baseball, who just punked the Mets in a series, swept them. And now you're going to their place, as desperate as it gets, wounded animal mode. Maybe the wounded animal mode is what this team needs. I don't know. But that's as bad of a series as you're going to have at the worst time that you could have it. And I think that's part of the frustration that a lot of people have this year, is when this team has needed the wins, right? Like, they needed to stack wins. They needed to try and get this. They didn't come through. They just didn't have it. Didn't have that extra little edge to get over the hump. Not calling into character that this team is bad, mentally weak, and there's just not that little bit to get over the finish line. As Patrick Mahomes, Eric Bieniemy say, drag your ass across the finish line. This team has not had that. They were punchless the first 2 games of the series when they really needed to try and make a statement against 2 pitchers that are okay to not very good. And then you win last night, which is great. And then tonight, you get 2 early off Gavin Williams and then do nothing after that. You go 0 for 6 runners in scoring position, leave 8 on. Bobby had chances. Vinny had other chances. Michael had a chance. It just didn't happen. And this might have been it's 1 of 162. They're going to go in the clubhouse and say, we're going to turn the page. We got to get ready for tomorrow. And that's fine. But this is where 1 of 162 ultimately could end your season. And when it's this late in the year, games like this that are must win, you got to find a way to scratch it across and win. And that is the players on the field, and that's also the manager pulling the strings. That generally, I think, does a good job and is unfairly maligned in a lot of cases. He did not handle the game well tonight, in my opinion. And ultimately, it could be the reason why the Royals are not going to make the playoffs. When your chances were already slim, and now it's even slimmer. And you're going to go play Philly, Seattle, and Toronto coming up. Three of the best teams in baseball, one of the best teams in the National League, the team that's now about to jump Houston potentially for the AL West, and then Toronto, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the American League. I know those games are at home, but those are three really good teams, and the Royals have not done well against teams above 500 this year. So unless they magically flip some switch on that flight from Cleveland to Philly and turn out a completely different leaf and run down some crazy run against some really good competition, this was the night that it ended. For all intents and purposes. It's frustrating. It's as devastating as it gets. Yeah, they had a window and they couldn't take advantage. Cleveland was there for the taking pretty much this entire series outside of Monday. Like Monday, they punked them, and that happens, right? They just got blitzed in that fourth inning. Ryan Berger did. It's like what they did to Joe Ryan on Saturday. But outside of that, man, it's just not enough. You're scoring a couple runs a night. I mean, just going back to the beginning of that Minnesota series. You scored 2 the first night, you get 11, and then you get, I think, 3, maybe? And then it was 0 or 2, 0, 4, over 4 runs one time since August 27th. And it was that 11-run game. Thank you, Nick, behind the scenes here for sending me that. See, now I understand that, but he's done up downs this year and been fine. So, and because he only threw a couple of pitches at the end of that inning with Kolek, I was fine with them sending him back out there because I didn't think they were going to go to Estevez for 6 outs in this situation without an off day until I believe the next Monday. That makes it a little tricky because you're probably going to need him in Philly as well. And you're going to need Ursig in Philly as well. Like, it's going to be all hands on deck. I know that we don't see Ursig unless they're leading or it's tied in the 8th, but they're going to need him. And so I was okay with, it's the same. Bill Nye hopping with more questions. What is this identity on offense? It's the same identity that we've seen for the last 10 years. They're not going to strike out a lot. They're not going to walk a lot. They're going to put the ball in play and try and wreak havoc on the base paths. And this team is really built for that. They're not good enough consistently striking together runs. The reason why the offense took a jump in July is because they actually started hitting homers. But that masked a lot of the issues that they still had overarching. Because once they went into a little power drought there at the end of August, that's when they stopped scoring runs again. When they're not hitting homers right now, they're not scoring runs. That game against the Twins, notwithstanding, Salvi hit the 3-run homer, but outside of that, it was all singles, doubles, and they frenzy hit. When they're not frenzy hitting, when the hits are not falling for this team, as hard, they hit the ball hard, they put the ball in play. There were a lot of hard hit balls tonight right at people. Them's the breaks sometimes, but if you're not going to do it consistently, you're not going to do it with runners on, it's not enough. And we'll see what they decide to do in the offseason when it comes to trying to make changes offensively to try and match what they've done on the pitching side. Because the pitching is the reason why they're 74 and 73. They would not be if the pitching wasn't top 5 in the league. Despite all of the injuries, they're still top 5 in the league. I do want to talk about Stephen Kolek on the other side of this break here. We do need to hit that. So we will do that right now on the other side of this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's how I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
What's good, everyone? It is KCSN betting analyst Benny Heiss. Something hit me as I was driving to the Missouri side, ironically, for something not available on the Kansas side. I cross over. I just can't get over how long sports fans in the state of Missouri have been waiting. It feels like forever. Good news is you don't have to wait much longer because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is finally coming to the Show Me State. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I got to wait on the sidelines until December 1st, it's not true. You can sign up right now. And when we go live, new Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets just for placing a $5 bet. $5. That's not even as much as a pumpkin spice latte that's going to take over. So it's not some ragtag sports, but this is DraftKings. You got live in-game betting. So if your team starts hot, you could jump in mid-play. There's lightning fast payouts. None of that wait 3 days for your money nonsense. And you've got more ways to get in on the action. There's no better way to start. It's all from your phone. When we go live, you'll be betting with a sportsbook trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast withdrawals, everything you want. Well, except maybe a guarantee that your team will cover the spread, but that part's still on you. So here's the move. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN, and when we go live December 1st, that $5 bet turns into $300 in bonus bets. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they are issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on all platforms. I appreciate those that are hanging out here on YouTube after a really tough loss, but a couple weeks left. We'll see what this team still has left in them. Calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss of Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is a proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. I do want to get to one question here in the chat before we move on here from Taco Bellmont, who's always in here. What's a realistic offseason plan to improve the offense? So I do think they do need another bat somewhere. It's obviously got to be in the outfield, I think. Because I don't think Jonathan India is going anywhere. I think he's going to be at second base. At least that's where I'd have him penciled in to begin 2026. Mikey Stremski's a free agent. Talked about I'd bring him back, but that's not like they need a ceiling raiser offensively, I think is where I was trying to get to. Because I think Mike Yastrzemski gives you a really solid floor, right? Because he's going to walk. He's not going to strike out. He's going to hit the ball hard. He put the ball in play. Do all the good leadoff hitter things. His at-bat at the beginning of this game, first inning against Gavin Williams, it was like that cut ride fastball with a curveball off the top of it. I thought he did a great job. Spoiled pitches, spoiled pitchers' pitches. Work the count, ends up working a 10-pitch walk to start the game. That's how you get Vinny, seeing all those pitches, seeing those fastballs top of the zone. He's able to hit one out to right center. That's how, that type of table setter is what this team needs. And he could be that, but I also don't know. So this is where they're going to have to attack free agency somewhere. Either just, kind of hold it together like what they have gotten out of Adam Frazier, Mike Yastrzemski since they got those guys in here. They could make a trade, and that would have to be one where it's going to cost something. See if you can see what you can throw at the Red Sox for a Jarren Duran or Wilyer Abreu, with Anthony and Rafael, like one of those guys is probably expendable. Even though the Red Sox are really, really good, like Wilyer Abreu is too good to be a fourth outfielder. Same with Jarren Duran. So it depends on who they covet more. You may be able to get one of those guys. There are going to be other guys that are going to be made available this offseason. We'll see, what that could end up being. But I could see that being something that they do. This is where it gets tricky because you never want to call for someone's job, like especially in my position. Like it's just not ethical. It's not the right thing to do. I do wonder about a change on the hitting side for this team going into next year, because you have Alex Zumwalt, Keone Dureni, Joe Dillon, 3 hitting coaches, and a lot of the offensive issues that we saw last season, we have seen this year, but it's also part of the reason why the offense was so good last year, or why the offense had success, is because they were so good with runners in scoring position, but they were so good to a point that like it was unsustainably good. And now that we've seen that come back into the direction, now they're one of the worst teams with runners in scoring position. Like it has completely flipped on its head. And so I just wonder, when they brought in Matt Cottrero, they brought in Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove, who are outside the organization to help revitalize the pitching side, top down, from the major league side down to the minor leagues. And we're seeing the dividends that has paid by going outside the organization, getting some fresh voices, some new blood in here. And we see what that's done. You take guys like Ryan Berger, Stephen Kolek, Lucas Ursing, Cole Reagans, and among others, Michael Lorenzen, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha. You bring all these guys in who have had success or have kind of are new in their careers in other places, bring them here, and they're immediately good. Like just that fast. I think there needs to be a fresh perspective and just some new voices on the hitting side, because this offense has too much talent to be what they are. Like, I think there's still levels to reach for Bobby Witt Jr. offensively. I think there's still levels for Vinny to reach. Michael took a massive jump this year. There still might be a ceiling for him as well. Jack Caglione, obviously. I mean, you see some of the talent. You see, the improvements that he's been able to make offensively, even though the results haven't quite shown. The quality of at bat is a lot better, and that's clear. Carter Jensen has a little ways to go, but I think the early returns are he's going to be able to handle himself at the big league level, handle a plate appearance. So you have a lot of these young guys that are part of a core that you need the offense to come together for them, because they're too good to be one of the worst hitting teams in the league with runners on in certain situations. And you marry that with a really good pitching staff. I mean, this would be one of the best teams in the American League. Like, they have that type of potential. And I understand that may sound a little homerish, a little pie in the sky, but I don't think we're that far off. I really don't. Like, it's just a couple of tweaks and a couple of things and maybe a fresh perspective and something that might turn the tide for this. I don't know. Maybe that's a little out there, but that's the way I'd look at it. And I'm not advocating for anything. I'm not trying to say that's what they have to do if they want to make the playoffs, but I do think that is certainly something to consider this offseason as well, especially with how things have gone lately offensively. Because when they kind of got things going a little bit in June, July, August, and the offense was a little bit better, and they kind of found the home run stroke, and the offense kind of picked it up a little bit as they dealt with some more injuries on the pitching side. But now, end of the year, I mean, when they need runs the most, they've just not been able to get to them. And we're seeing the results of what that means, because they're getting a lot of really good pitching performances that are getting undeserved losses or undeserved outcomes. Noah Cameron got one. I think, Stephen Kolek deserved better than to get a no decision tonight, because I thought he threw the ball really well again. And I want to go to that and on a little bit of a high note here. I really liked what I saw from him tonight. And he's an interesting guy, because I think the stuff is solid. I don't know if it's everyday big leaguer or like rotation good, because he doesn't get a ton of swing and miss. And that's kind of the concern, I guess, with Kolek. But he works around it by not giving up a lot of hard contact. He's going to work the ball all over the place with his fastball, sinker, cutter, slider, sweeper, changeup. Like, he's going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at you. And he's throwing his fastball a lot more. Like it's kind of the opposite that we saw from Ryan Berger. He'd be a long relief guy. I think that's where he is. I think that's where he could be best utilized because his fastball can get up to 96. It was up to 96 tonight, but it's mostly around 94. I think if he can go to the bullpen and be like 96 to 97 potentially, like just let it tick up a little bit in a 1 or 2 inning spurt with his changeup that has some really good depth, a slider that he's got some feel for, and he can cut it, sink it, kind of move it around. I think there's some legitimate potential there. And he throws a ton he's throwing a lot more four-seam fastballs this year, which I think is one of the more interesting things that he's doing. When he was in San Diego, he was throwing his sinker and his four-seam a bunch. Like that was the 2 main pitches he was using, but using those around 25, 26% a piece, plus or minus a couple. But regardless, about half the time, sinker four-seam to go along with the slider. Now he's like four-seam changeup guy without a ton. He doesn't have a ton of ride at the top of the zone, which is why I think he throws the cutter because he doesn't spin the four-seam the same way like a Ryan Berger does, like the way Cole Reagans does. It just doesn't have that same staying power at the top of the zone. That's why he was getting freezes on that fastball at the bottom of the zone off of the slider and off of the changeup. But it is really interesting to see how they've taken the usage a little bit. He's throwing that 35%. He's throwing the changeup 26% tonight when the slider was his third pitch in San Diego. So they mix his percentages, and it's maximized who he was. That's what Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove have done for all of these guys that they brought in over the last couple of years. They've seen the stuff that they have in their previous organization. They come here, they're like, okay, we like the stuff. Let's do this, and this to your arsenal. And we'll see what it does. And it maximizes who the guy is. So it's, again, another line of impressive talent identification by J.J. Piccolo in this front office. And I'm sure Brian Sweeney, Zach Bove have some say in here as well because they're the guys that are going to be coaching them. And it's been it's just another line of guys that are going to be really impressive. Are going to be a part of this team in 2026. And Taco comes back in with what's next year's rotation looks like because it feels like they have 8 guys for 5 spots. It kind of does feel that way. Now, I think the emergence of Berger and Kolek, because they technically could have Michael Lorenzen back in 2026, but it's a mutual option. I think they're going to decline that because of what they have in these guys. So you're going to have, this is all assuming health, right? Reagans, Lugo, Waka, Cameron, and then you have Michael Lorenz, I guess you can kind of throw Lorenz into that conversation depending on what they do with the mutual option. Stephen Kolek, Ryan Berger. I think Bailey Falter's still going to be in that conversation. I know the early returns with him are not good, but they still have 3 years of control. I think they're going to give him a chance in spring training. Luinder Avila. I feel like there's another guy that I'm thinking of. And then maybe they go and get another guy. Alec Marsh might throw himself back in there. I think Kyle Wright's a free agent, which is unfortunate that didn't work out, even though it was a worthy swing. So yeah, they do have like 8 or 9 guys for 5 spots. Really, I think it's for one. I think it's more like they have 4 guys for 1 spot because Reagans, Lugo, and Chris Bubich, goodness, like he's going to be in that conversation too. So they may have. God, it's going to be really tricky what they do. I'm really fascinated what they do this offseason and try and shore up spots for a lot of these guys. I don't know what they're going to end up doing, but it is very, very fascinating. I think a Chris Bubich trade is going to be one of the more interesting conversations to have this offseason. That may be one of the first topics that I hit in the offseason of what to do with him. And I think based on the way I talk about that might be kind of the direction that I'm heading. But we'll see. Before we get out, I do want to shout out Vinny Pasquantino, 30 homers, 100 RBI season. He's the first. They said it on the broadcast that he was the first baseman since Eric Hosmer to hit 30. Hosmer never hit 30 in Kansas City. He's the primary first baseman in Kansas City to hit 30 home runs since Steve Balboni in 1985. And I was shocked when I went back that far, because I went back and looked a couple weeks ago when he was closing in on, I think, 25 or 26 homers. And yeah, like Sweeney, I think he hit 29 3 times. So he never got to the 30 mark. But Vinny gets to the 30 mark here. A guy that I never thought was going to be a 30 homer guy in the big leagues has turned himself into that. He's obviously a huge run producer for this team. For all the criticism of the offense this year, this team wouldn't be in this position if Vinny wasn't the guy he was in the 3 spot. And outside of an absolutely terrible month of April, he's been one of the better hitters in this, in the American League for quite a while now. And a huge run producer, and I think he's in the top 6 or 7 in Major League Baseball in RBIs. It is, obviously being a RBI, having a high RBI number is a product of your environment, who's on in front of you, how often are you coming through. So it's not like a huge indicator of success, but Vinny says it's something he cares about, and he's obviously come through, and it's been, and with it being that big of a deal to him, it makes a massive difference. And obviously a huge credit to him, and I think an extension conversation with him continues to get interesting, and it's one that I would go to. Yep. Taco's correct. I'm Toast Game and Stephen Kolek and Vinny Pasquantino. They deserve it. Their contributions tonight don't go unnoticed. Kolek obviously deserved better than a no decision, but that's why win-loss record doesn't matter for starting pitchers. I'll be back on Sunday after the series against the Phillies. We are going to go live Sunday night, but with the Chiefs game starting at 3, Nick Springer, who does an amazing job behind the scenes, and I don't give him near enough love and credit on this show for hopping on with me all 3 times a week, all season long. He does the Chiefs post-game show for 96.5. He helps produce it, so he's got to do that, and then he's going to come back and sit and do this show, which is wild. Whenever he is back and ready to go, that's when we'll hop on, probably sometime between 8:30 and 9. As it gets a little bit closer, I'll post something on Sunday evening after, and hopefully you guys see it through the inundation of Chiefs stuff that's going to blow up your timelines over the next couple of days. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get some probables here for this Philly series. I don't think sometimes you can break down the keys and figure out, oh, hey, this is what they need to do. Yeah, just go win. Find a way. Are you going to find a way or not? That's really what it boils down to. It's going to be Walker Buehler. I forgot the Phillies pick him up. Walker Buehler versus Michael Lorenzen, 5:45 first pitch tomorrow. On Saturday, it's going to be a 5:05 first pitch, Ryan Berger, Taijuan Walker. And then on Sunday, a 12:35 first pitch, Noah Cameron versus Aaron Nola. We'll see what this team has left. Tonight really, really buried their chances. We'll see what they've got left. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me. Cheers. We'll talk on Sunday night. Take care, everybody.